politics could take any of the following 10 forms. Are you ready? The 10 shapes and 10 forms of bad politics. Number 1, politics of division. The politics of division or divisive politics is adopted by politicians who capitalize on the polarization in our polity to achieve their political ambitions. Rather than seeking to build a bridge, such politicians use ethnic, regional, religious, partisan, generational, and class divisions to build dams between the people in order to appease political support bases. The agents of divisive politics do not hesitate to throw equitable representation and inclusion out the window because politics to them is a game of numbers, while a sense of inclusion is secondary. They do not take a stand on issues of nationhood when they sense that taking a stand could infuriate their extremist support bases. Fellow Nigerians, you may be wondering what kind of governance outcomes the politics of division outputs. This kind of politics can extinguish the dying embers of patriotism and further intensify the feelings of marginalization. It will nurture nepotism in political appointments and sectionalism in the allocation of projects and resources. In a nutshell, divisive politics attacks the foundations of nationhood and fosters underdevelopment. Number 2, politics of deception. The politics of deception is defined by an attempted mixture of good tree and bad tree characteristics. The purveyors of this kind of politics thrive on false premises, including forged identities, contrived statistics, deliberate misinformation, propaganda, and such post-truth anecdotes that became known as alternative facts in the government of former US President Donald Trump. In addition to false promises, they have no intention of fulfilling the design to lure unsuspecting voters. It was such politicians that former French President Charles de Gaulle referred to when he said, "Since a politician never believes what he says, he is quite surprised to be taken at his word." The governance implication of the politics of deception is a lack of accountability and transparency, as well as a legacy of failed promises, because deceptive means cannot bring about a credible end. Number 3, politics of manipulation. Listen to this very well. If you have ever wondered why some political leaders have their countries, their regions, or their states in the palm of their hand, as though such territories were their private estates and the people their zombie subjects, then welcome to the workings of the politics of manipulation. Manipulative politicians are masters at the art of mind control. They deploy various means, from the hypnotic to the philanthropic, to maintain loyalty to such an extent that defies rationality. Such politicians are adept at state capture and the weaponization of poverty. They loot the treasury and use the looted funds to win loyalty through acts of generosity. One cannot but agree with Joseph Addison, who posted that, "Is there not some chosen curse, some hidden thunder in the stars of heaven, red with uncommon wrath, to blast the man who owes his greatness to his country's ruin?" The governance outcomes of the politics of manipulation include a descent into dictatorship, human rights violations, grand corruption, lack of accountability, and the perpetuation of poverty. Number 4, politics of merchandise, also known as transactional politics. The politics of merchandise is practiced by politicians who buy delegates and candidates during primaries, purchase endorsement from power blocks and influencers during campaigns, and buy voters during elections. The governance that results from this kind of politics is characterized by lack of accountability to citizens. When politicians get to power through vote buying, they do not think that they owe us, the citizens, any obligation. As a result, they have no business with us until the next elections. Fellow citizens, in 2023, we must reject political merchants and vote buyers. That's a good place to say amen. Number 5, politics of exploitation. The politics of exploitation is practiced by incumbents who divert state resources to re-election campaigns or to fund anointed candidates. These politicians also exploit otherwise non-partisan institutions such as security agencies to carry out their political shenanigans. It's also common to find exploitative politicians denying the opposition legitimate use of facilities. The politics of exploitation erodes confidence in institutions. It depletes patriotism, fosters corruption, and sabotages critical sectors of the economy. Number 6, politics of betrayal. This is so common here. The policy of betrayal is a brand of transactional politics deployed by candidates who lack a sense of loyalty. Policies of betrayal is what is at play when political leaders sell out members of their political party for political gain. For instance, when in a bid to win a particular state at the presidential election, a presidential candidate of a given party makes backdoor deals with the governor of that state who is from an opposing political party in such a manner that throws the governorship candidate of his party under the bus. That is the politics of betrayal at play. Politics of betrayal amounts to what Mahatma Gandhi describes as politics without principles, and it will ultimately produce unprincipled leaders who will not hesitate to betray the citizens when they are faced with difficult choices. If you're looking for a clear example of politics of betrayal, look at how many people have done acrobatic display from APC to PDP, from PDP to APC, and they have become any government in power. They have no principles. They are ready to sleep with dogs and get off with fleas. Number 7, politics of slander, also known as gutter politics. The politics of slander deploys character assassination, whereas transparency and accountability mandate that those who offer to serve the public good must come clean before the public. Politicians must realize that you don't rise by destroying others. The policies of slander will produce mafia-type rulers who lack decency and who can go to any length, including Watergate type of extremes, to dig out death on opponents. Such politics can breed incivility in governance as well as stall development. In the words of Samuel Griswold Goodrich, abuse is a weapon of the vulgar. Say that with me. Abuse is a weapon of the vulgar. Number 8, politics of intimidation. The practitioners of the policies of intimidation use violence and scare tactics to undermine opposition and disenfranchise voters. The result of such politics is voter apathy and the avoidance of the political landscape by competent and credible candidates, especially women. Such politics will produce leaders that lack legitimacy and who have no genuine sense of accountability to the people. 9, politics of elimination. When we think of the politics of elimination, we remember our nation's unresolved political assassinations and the lingering questions they elicit. Who killed Funshaw Williams? Who killed Bola Ige? Who killed Marshall Harry? Who killed Victoria Chintex? By eliminating opponents, the practitioners of the policies of elimination deprive the nation of leaders who are, more often than not, better than themselves. Number 10, politics of entitlement. This is the Milokon type of politics that insists on one's turn even if circumstances do not align. Politics of entitlement also manifests as perennial candidacy, not with the intent to serve, but to gratify long-term personal ambitions. It could also manifest as insistence on a given political office as a reward for what one considers a lifetime of sacrifice to the nation. Politicians with a sense of entitlement evade political debates. They do not consider it imperative to communicate with the electorate. Entitlement politics will breed an imperial presidency that is distant from the people and has no sense of responsibility or accountability to the people. Such imperial governance will slide towards dictatorship and will be intolerant of dissent. Entitlement politicians set low performance benchmarks for themselves when they secure power and are content with projecting molehills as mountains of achievement. Bridging the gap through the politics of substitution. Fellow citizens, to bridge the gap between politics and governance, we must press the eject button on the bastions of bad politics. Wherever we have unwittingly thrown our collective weight behind liars, behind such purveyors of the kind of politics that produces bad governance, we must now activate the policies of substitution and give our support to persons who from their politics we can tell will serve the public good using the power we confer on them by our votes. Now is the time to make up our minds and make that choice. In the words of William James, when you have to make a choice and don't make it, that is in itself a choice. When you have to make a choice and don't make it, that in itself is a choice. Fellow citizens, our Israel as a nation has been characterized by contention between polarizing forces, between the North and the South, between the Igbos, Yorubas, Hausa Fulanis, and the over 250 additional ethnic groups, between Christians and Muslims, between the old and the young, between the military on the one hand and statesmen and politicians on the other. But now is the time, and this is the moment for a new breed of leaders to emerge, a new breed of leaders that can situate themselves between polarizing forces and bring every constituency together on the table of brotherhood. A new breed of leaders that can reconcile past grievances, end marginalization, and give every constituent part of our nation a prominent seat at the table. A new breed of leaders that can shift our national focus from divisiveness of bad politics to those common grounds where politics cannot divide us. The common grounds of our shared aspiration for peace, progress, possibility, prosperity, the common grounds of our shared need for security, nutrition, education, healthcare, jobs, success in business, access to electricity, good roads, and other functional infrastructure. The common grounds of our shared desire for national glory and achievement across endeavors, and to be recognized and celebrated as citizens of a great nation among the nations of the world. Now is the time to make that shift from politics for politics' sake to politics for the sake of governance. When we make that shift from viewing politics merely as a vehicle for grabbing and retaining power to politics as a vehicle heading towards good governance, when we make good governance the central focus of our politics, when we jettison bad politics in its various forms and embrace the kind of politics that outputs good governance, then and only then will we welcome the new Nigeria, a nation that can become the peace, progress, prosperity, and possibilities capital of the world. Let us therefore resolve to make governance the driving force of our politics as we approach the polls in 2023, knowing that whoever wins in the end, the verdict will remain: Nigeria wins. He said, between two evils, choose neither, and between two goods, choose both. This, to my mind, is the direction of the wind of the Spirit. The wind of the Spirit is blowing in replacing the old order with new. And before we cast any vote, a new breed without greed will emerge. In place of evil politicians, God is going to raise good politicians. They will practice good politics. They will embark on good governance. Nigeria will be great again.